Do you want more? More time, more balance, more love, more sex, more money, more real, and less bullshit? This is the Women Wanting More podcast with Dr. Karen Osborne. Real life, real stories, plus real tips to get you more of what you want.
So I just dropped off my kids at school and actually went into the classroom today with my youngest son, Kai, who's in kindergarten. And because Kai is a handful and it's just having a hard time, you know, he's a super bright kid and Kai wants to do what Kai wants to do. It's also part of being 5, but it's not really conducive to starting to learn how things work with school. And, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of school and public school. We have an amazing one because I want my kids to be who they are. And sometimes schools kind of, squash that. But, however, Kai's got to learn structure and stuff, right? Although it's so interesting, you know, because when he was in daycare, and maybe just because there was a really small daycare, there was 8 on his side, 8 kids. Great, amazing teacher. And so she kept the kids moving. There wasn't any, I wouldn't say there wasn't any. There was rarely challenges that would come up. And so it's not like he's new to, okay, this is where you put your stuff away. And this is where, time for things and structure and order. It's not like some of the kids that are coming from being home with mom or a grandparent and then thrust into school and just what's happening, right? But I watched, her name is Risha. They actually have a special aide, a helper that's with Kai for the next couple months to just kind of really help him. And so what they've done is they've got little pictures, which just kind of helps to cue him as to, okay, Kai, basically, this is your expectations. What is the next thing that you need to do, right? Kai's just content to do whatever Kai wants to do. And that's amazing to have that and the confidence he has as a 5-year-old. I mean, he's a great little human being now, but man, both my boys are gonna be forces as adults, just confident, brave, imaginative, curious, smart kids, but not the best followers, right? So I'm watching Risha show him the pictures. Okay, Kai, what's required next? And it made me think, and it's 2 little pictures, right? One's put your bag in your, take your shoes off, put your inside shoes on, just kind of what's the next thing? And it made me think of that, right? It made me think of, wow, what's something I can share with you on this? And it's really that we often, maybe Kai, go in the classroom hey, man, what's happening with the food in my bag today? Or, hey, there's my friend. Or what's happened in the classroom, and we can be so distracted by all the different steps that are going to happen in that day. When really, the only thing you really need to do, and what has helped me immensely to not go to a place very often of overwhelm and stress, all this kind of stuff, is I just go, what is required next? Just like Risha holding up the little chart, showing a little picture of the bag and his shoes and with words on it saying, take off my bag and put away my shoes, what is the next step that's required? Because the problem comes in, just like with Kai in the classroom, is if we spin forward and it's what's happening later in the day or tomorrow or next week, or, we see this thing that we're trying to create. More connection in how you are as a parent, right? More connection in your marriage, more connection to your physical self, really building a strong, lean, healthy body, and we can get overwhelmed with all the things that will be required. It's kind of let's take a look at parenting, right? If you had to, and I've used this analogy before in the podcast, but think about this, even if you're not a parent, this is going to make sense. If you had to know exactly what was happening first we get the newborn stage, and then we get now they're mobile, they're rolling over, they're crawling stage. Then we get the walking stage. We're into toddlers. We got potty training. We've got then transition to school, and then we got teenagers, and you just would be out of your fucking mind, right? And so what do we do as parents? What is required in this moment? You're not thinking as with a newborn baby of what will be the challenges as a teenager. I mean, maybe your mind travels there, but listen, what you need to do, what's required in that moment is, hey, my baby's crying. Do they need to be changed? Do they need food? Or are they tired? There's no lot of, and I'm going to help that to soothe that child and give that beautiful baby what he or she needs right now in this moment. It's like, what is required next? What's required now? What is the next step? And I'm telling you, sister, if you can really latch onto this as a strategy of just like what is required next, you can still be aware that the next step is the next step and that there's another 100 steps up ahead. That's okay. I'm not saying that you're just, fingers in your ears like, la, 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 I can't see it, I can't hear it, right? Like, you can be cognizant of what's coming up, but you can't be there. That's the difference. And what this allows you to do is to be present. So when I'm training with my boxing coach, Rob, and we might do some different combinations, or he's thrown a hook at me, and that means I need to like duck under it, or I need to slip, which means that, you're kind of like, your head kind of drops to one side, and as a punch is coming out, it's a way for you to slip and move out of the way, but you only kind of move your head. Or I'm blocking things, and we'll be doing something in when I'm training with them. If I anticipate that, it's not the same thing. And I can feel when I do. I can feel how I start to put my hand up to block before the punch is even being thrown, right? I'm anticipating what's the next thing versus being present and in the moment. And when I'm present and in the moment, then it's just a response and a reaction to punches being thrown at me. Present. And I'm telling you right now, sister, brother, it is a beautiful feeling to be present in life. It is the thing that so many of you clamor to do, but don't know how to. And part of it is because you're focused on all the next steps that are coming up. And all you got to do is just to ask yourself, what is the next step? So here's your more tip for today. There's something right now that you're trying to accomplish that you are thinking of the next, 50,000 steps. And all you got to do is the next one. So I want you to take a look at that thing that you're trying to accomplish and ask yourself this question. What is the next step? What's the next step? Big, small, what is the next step? And I want you to do that next step in the next 24 hours. That's it. See, when you put some stank, when you put a little bit of speed, right, behind, not even just speed, it's not about speed, it's just decision, right? Like, okay, let's go, let's do this one action. See, what you don't understand right now too is that action will be the catalyst to the next, and to the next thing, and to the next thing, to the next thing. And if you were so stuck on worrying about those 50,000 steps, you will never fucking take action. You will never have movement. You will just stay stuck, right? The paralysis of analysis, like, all you gotta ask yourself is, what is the next step? So, sister, finishing up, 2 things. Number 1, if you do not already subscribe to the podcast, I want you to do that, and to leave a review. Like, listen, this is the way that we can help more women really get turned on to the Women Wanting More podcast. So make sure to subscribe, rate, and review, and write a written review. It's nice to leave a 5-star review, but it's, your words are very, very honoring and meaningful to women that are like checking out podcasts and taking a look. And so go ahead and do that on iTunes. And number 2, if you don't subscribe to the newsletter yet, Women Wanting More newsletter, do that right away. You can hear about my book coming out later this year. And there's a big shift that's happening in the Women Wanting More movement. And I want you to have the VIP access to all of that. So head over to drkarenosburn.com/action guide, DrKarenosburn.com/action guide. You can open the show notes on your phone right now and click on the link that'll be there, and enter in your email when you get through to that URL. And I'm going to send you some amazing gifts as a thank you for being part of the Women Wanting More tribe. So I will talk on the next episode. A life of more is just one step away from you asking yourself, what is the next step? Every single day. I love and appreciate you.
To get the show notes of each Women Wanting More episode, including the How to Get More tip, subscribe to the newsletter at drkarenosburn.com/newsletter.